Welcome to the Fine Print, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Caleb Teskey, and today I'm joined by Derek Shirley. Some of you may know him as Getting High with Cats. And Derek, thanks so much, man. I've been trying to line this one up for a minute here, and I'm so glad to have you on here today.
Thank you. I first want to say I apologize for that. It's not anything personal against anyone. I'm kind of known for being hard to kind of get a hold of sometimes. And it's really because I'm busy with my own projects, being a dad and taking care of my own small garden. So for me, it's like I don't know. It's hard for me to kind of focus in general. So when I get like bombarded with messages, I don't mean that in a conceited way. I just get more than I can personally handle. It doesn't have to be a lot. So I try to base how I respond people off their actions, not just what they post and shit, because anyone can really be a post warrior. I really want to see what people are doing. And and that's one reason why I was super pumped to reach out to you. I saw you had an awesome, like I said to you before, like I was super pumped with the people you had on before, because there are people in power, especially in like or were. I do like some of like the more serious people you had on. I think that's super tough to get like kind of an open dialogue with. But I also like think it's important that someone's talking to these people, because like me, I think I'm personally a little too rough around the edges. But it's good that some people can build those bridges. But hey, I work at it every day, so I
I've
kind
been
of got
I've
off to a
been
weird
I've been a
start.
little rough around the edges my whole life, and this is sort of an exercise in not being a dick for me, to be quite honest with you, and talking to people and opening that dialogue. And because if you go in and talk to some of these people with that sort of rude attitude, they're going to slam the door in your face. You'll never talk to them again.
Right. And I've honestly done that with people in my own community, and I wish I hadn't, but I'm always just trying to grow as a person. Um, that's really all we can do. You know what I mean? Like, no one's perfect, but that's all we can try to do is just be better than the day we were before, or the generation that better than we were before the generation before us.
By the way,
Um,
before we get into anything serious, Amelia says hello.
oh, hello, Amelia. I'm
A
a
little
good friend of
shout out.
her. Great, one of guests on one of my shows. I was introduced to her, I believe, through Jeffrey, Vermont Growers. I think that's originally who like shot me the message, like, "Oh, hey, you should really hit up this Amelia." And I was like, "Bet." And yeah, I think Amelia is awesome. I think
She is wonderful.
she does great work. Really smart individual. Really, really. I
Passionate.
mean, she's someone that actually suffers from a medical condition that's. I'm not here to judge other people, like compare people. Everyone's different, but I know like firsthand, like her condition um is more like, I don't want to say more, but like back in the day, she would have got a card regardless, right? But like back in the day, she's one of the original cases, or not original cases, but original causes to get a card,
Sure.
essentially.
Absolutely. But she said hello. A little shout out to Amelia there. Before we get into anything, also, would you mind sharing your 5 minute life story with us? Tell us a little bit about your
Five
background.
minutes, bro.
Make it
Okay.
15. I don't give a fuck. I cleared
Okay,
out 3 hours
so
for you.
okay, I'll try to keep it short. So my name is Derek Shirley, as you guys know. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Uh, Monroeville technically, but everyone just says Pittsburgh. Everyone knows how that is. I got in trouble for 4 ounces of cannabis, and I think it's 2012. I forget the year, 2013 maybe. And in that case, it turned out I had a felony.
Was that in
Uh,
Pennsylvania?
yes, in Pennsylvania. And at that point in time, I realized I wanted to, go to a state where I could just buy cannabis legally. I didn't care if it was at a dispo. Frankly, at that time, I would have bought from a Curaleaf or somewhere shitty. I probably wouldn't have gave a shit, because it was, I wanted to buy legally. I was sick of, I always tell the story like in Pittsburgh. Sorry, I'm already off on a tangent. Let me get focused. So
Do your thing, man.
originally when
I'll interrupt you as it is called for. I'm gonna let you go because I
no,
know,
you don't want that. I because the question was give me a
listen,
quick life story, so I want to actually stay
don't
on
worry.
that.
I'll reel you in.
Okay, I want to just at least stay on that pinpoint. So after I got in trouble and did my probation, because I got it was my only first offense. I had no prior record whatsoever, so I got what was called unsupervised probation. So as long as I stayed out of trouble, like I was okay. And
What were the charges there?
what
What were the charges?
the official charge that I just took was it was attempted to distribute an illegal substance, because in the state of Pennsylvania, over 28 grams of cannabis. It doesn't matter if it was for personal use or if you were going to sell it out. That was that you, if anything over an ounce was you were a dealer. You're providing other people with shit.
Okay.
And I had two ounce bags, so I had 4 ounces total. 117.5 grams, I think, was the exact number. And for me, it was just at that point, it was like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I was selling, but like at the same time, like I always tell people, I was like kind of like a 5 pack guy, you know what I
So
mean?
what, like a quarter pound?
Yeah. So like I'm like, but I'm not gonna lie, I was like selling and shit back then. Like I would like I say I like I always say I was like a 5 pack guy. Like I would literally usually go like 2 to the streets, 2 to the rich kids, and 1 for myself. You know what I mean? That's usually how I broke it down. And but, no, but it was, I mean, that's how it was. I mean, I wasn't the only one doing that, you
No,
know?
no, you were not.
And that was like the best way to do it. Like you didn't feel like you were gonna get like in super trouble, but that's why I always kind of say too, I was the lucky one, right? Like I only got caught with 4 ounces. So for me, it's like I did get slapped on the wrist, but like I could have took it to court for entrapment, they said, but it wasn't worth my time because like I had cannabis, you know what I mean? The only thing I was super lucky about, and I thank the greater powers every day, is if I was about 500 feet to like the left or something, I would have been considered, because it was a college, so it would have been like a school zone.
Oh,
So they would have hit me with, I would have got a minimum of 2 states, 2 years in state or upstate.
damn.
No questions.
In Vermont,
So,
colleges have been exempted from these zoning laws that say you have
but
to
this
be.
was back then too. So they might be different now, but that's one thing I was super lucky about.
Yeah. So you never did any jail time.
I sat in there for like 3 weeks. And it was to like post bail. It was like a weird time. I obviously at one point like they gave me an offer to like snitch on people, and I like deferred them. I was like, nah, not really. Like I'm already
They
sitting
always
in
give
here.
you that
Like it's
offer,
only
right?
4 ounces.
Yeah.
Like it was a whole shit show. And for me, it was like, fuck, man. That's when I started, like, when I was sitting in there. And that's why I say I'm the fucking lucky one, right? But, like, really, though, the sentence started after all of, like, the judicial shit, right? The felony, I can't own a gun. I couldn't, when I first moved here, I technically couldn't even apply to be a caregiver because of my charge. I had to wait 10 years, 10 years from the last day of your probation to the day. So let's just say you got in trouble in 2013. You didn't start at 2013. You started at whatever your sentence was, or
Right.
parole, probation, whatever. So maybe it was this past session. This past session, at LD 1958, I know the Maine Craft Cannabis Association, the Maine Cannabis Coalition, I think the Maine Growers Alliance might have tagged in on that too. I know we all stood for it. We all supported it. I don't know I know the Craft Cannabis Association. Mark Burnett was one of the authors of this bill, and part of it was cutting that wait time down to 5 years. I think we all wanted that 0 to 3 years, but if anyone knows politics, it's a game of give and take.
So
And
what about expungements up in Maine? Is there any kind of legislation in the works for expunging people with cannabis charges on their record?
I don't want to. It's hard to say right now. I don't want to say yes or no because I don't know where all the other heads are and groups are at. There's always people doing shit. So I know in a lot of group meetings and like group talks, like that has been on our agenda. But like I think a lot of it too, baking and expungement are our two big ones. I think are in the forefront.
What were
Banking,
those?
I think I hate to say this, but I think banking is on everyone's top mind versus
Don't jump the gun. We're gonna get to that.
okay, okay.
Let's come back to
All right.
that. Could you tell me a little bit about those groups you just mentioned, the Maine Growers Alliance and those other couple of groups, and what their involvement has been in sort of maybe testifying before committees or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. So so you have the Maine Craft Cannabis Association, who and honestly you should look at their website. I think it's the Maine Growers Alliance have great definitions of each, or look at their own webpage. I think they have good. I remember I don't know if it's on there. At one point I actually did like a 6 minute like talk about explaining all three and what the definitions were. um but they all kind of play a different role and have different. Okay, but the Maine Craft Cannabis Association, that was like founded by Mark Burnett. He has a store in Portland. He's a what is he? I did an episode with him too. He's a really awesome, smart
He's got
guy.
a podcast or something.
No, he's just the fucking man. He's like he doesn't like to be called lobbyist, so I'm not gonna call him a lobbyist. I think he's I forget his title. A strategist, I think is what he likes to be called.
Sure.
I think he's a strategist, and yeah, he's the first one that kind of I don't want to say beat into my head, but made me understand why mandatory testing on the sword of public safety is actually bullshit. And he actually broke it down pretty simple for me.
Don't jump the gun there
Well,
either.
I'm not. I'm just saying. But he's the founder of that group.
Okay, cool.
And then you have, and there's like a couple founders in each group. Some left, some still there. And then you have the Maine Growers Alliance, which you have his name's Pat. He's the owner of Zero Grav. He's like one of the founders there. And then you have I don't want to speak too much, but
Zero
I'll
Gravity,
just speak at least
Zero
on the
Gravity
founders.
Brewing Company.
What'd you say?
Zero Gravity. Is that a brewing company?
No, that's
Okay.
Zero Gravity is the cannabis company here in Maine.
Oh, Zero Gravity is a brewing company here in Vermont. Okay, I was just making sure. Cool.
No, I mean, who knows? Who
Yep.
knows?
Yep.
And yeah, so I know those are like, and again, they had a couple founders, but again, I don't know who's all still where. And then I'm a board member of the Maine Cannabis Coalition, which was the founder of Dawson Julia, which I'm not just gonna say it was the first cannabis group because like I don't want to put that label on it, but it was the first one that really started like taking a fight to the state houses and shit like heavy.
And
to my knowledge, there could be more, so don't edit me on that. Like there could be others, but I mean, I think when they think of who fought for cannabis, small farmers and caregivers' rights and patient rights, the most, Dawson Julia's name has to be.
So that was sort of your mission, was to fight for caregiver and patient rights.
No, frankly, dude, no. I mean, yes, but like my biggest picture is like I think it's bullshit that corporate cannabis can make millions and millions and some even first billionaires of cannabis dollars off of cannabis, but yet there's still, I don't even care over the number, there's still many people that are sitting and rotting in jail for cannabis related charges. And I think it's such bullshit. That's really why I started speaking up, because my felony, you're right, like big picture, it ain't shit. Has it affected my life? Absolutely. Like I couldn't get housing. So like I feel like I felt a micro struggle of what the actual people struggle. So that's why I feel like I have to do whatever I can to speak the fuck up. Yes, I'm absolutely for the patients and caregiver rights. Definitely, because Maine, it took me a while to understand how special Maine was, frankly, right?
Right. So
70% of the market is made up of not even small businesses, micro businesses. We're talking like less than 10 employees, half of these businesses out of that 70% probably have. I might
Right.
be wrong,
And
but
you
like
said
that's
the way they just they define a small business is like 28. I forgot
yeah,
the
I think they say
number.
less than 28 people is like defined by a small business. I think by the federal government. I could be wrong, but it's like 28 or 29 is considered small business. But like in reality, like these people don't even come close to the 20s half the time. You know what I mean? It's usually it's usually literally a
You know,
husband and wife,
a
or
small weed grow is really usually just like 2 or 3 people.
exactly.
You
It's
don't need a
usually
ton of
like
people.
I feel like people that are like doing solid. I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone, but like in my perspective is like it seems like the people that are usually doing like literally a two-team partnership, like not even partnership, just working together full time, and then maybe a grow hand, and then like part-time trimmers. You know what I mean? And that's usually what I see. And like for me, it's like one of those things is like and people do scale up from that, right? And that's cool. That's great. And I think, there's a misconception of like growing is like growth of a business is bad. And I'm not even saying growth of a business is bad, right? The issue is, you start small, you built your client base off of quality because you are small. And then you expand times whatever. And then you still try to tell me that product is the same quality as you were when you were small. And frankly, it's not. And I think that's what kind of pisses me off at like, not only say it pisses me off, it just like disappoints me as a patient, as a consumer, because it's like, you tell me you're still as good as you were when you were small. And it's like, no, you're not.
Let me ask you this. Do
Yeah.
you think it's possible to scale? Because I know exactly what you're saying, and I've heard that argument a lot of times, and I tend to agree with it. But do you think it's possible to scale up a small craft quality grow into a massive like like a large like warehouse type grow and still maintain the quality? Is that possible?
Um, Let me just say this. I I think majority of the time, no, I don't think it is. But I actually went to a facility recently, Bung Tech Farms. I think I'm saying that right. Um, and their facility is pretty big. Yeah, Bangladesh Farms, and they literally they invited me to their farm because they knew they were a bigger grow. They knew they were a bigger medical grow, and they're all like automatically fed and shit. And I was like, okay. So I came, beautiful facility, phenomenal. And I know
How big are we talking, Derek?
you can look it up. It's
Okay,
in New Gloucester. I don't want to undersize them or overshoot them.
heard.
He might have even told me, but I'm not sure. It was a large facility that I said, wow, this is a large facility, but like it is obviously super fucking clean. Like I was impressed. I can't lie. And then I was like, all right, like let me see, like let me let's see the product essentially. And I know they grow with assault. Um, I believe it's front row AG, and the guy's worked with them for like years. Like he's super. So he knows the shit. Like he knows how to tune, and that's been my thing, right? I've been saying like, look, I'm not saying salts are bad, but it's like I
Yeah,
feel like but I think it's like it takes a fucking like person to actually know them and tone them in. But anyway, long story
that debate
short,
will rage on forever, I think.
homie gave me a nice platter of samples, and he was even straight up with me and said, hey man, like because even when I came in, they told me, and I saw they were like harvesting. They said, hey, this is actually some older stuff, but like I just want to be straight up with you. You can still be like harsh. And dude, so like I let you, I don't know exactly how many they gave me. Let's just say for easy, not like easy conversation, they gave me 10. Um, Dude, like they had like this try burgers. It was nasty still. Like I even was like I texted him immediately. I said, "Yo, after like this one's something different, especially being like old. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I was like, it was still gassy as shit. Um, but that's my thing. I'm a big gas terp guy. I really like. I don't dislike fruity terps, but if people give me a bunch of fruity terps, I unfortunately like grade them a little lower just because it's my personal preference. It's nothing against them, nothing against the talent. I usually tell them that it's like, hey, or the opposite, like, hey, there's a few of them, like there's like a strawberry and a blueberry one. Both nose were on point of strawberry and blueberry, but like personally, like they're not my terp profile favorites. And I was like, yo, even though these terps weren't my favorite, like this shit was still fucking fire. You know what I mean?
I'm a wicked fruit head. I'm a fruity guy.
So personally, yes. I think it's very rare. I think it's very hard, but I think if it's someone that knows how to grow, knows what nutrients they're using from like years of experience, you know, I was a big. If you asked me that question even 3 months ago, I would have been like, nope, doesn't exist. But I was extremely impressed by the facility that I saw. And with the product to back it up, like I was just like kind of blown away.
Well, that's what matters, right? The proof is in the pudding, ain't it?
Yeah, and again, it goes kind of back to like yeah, you can keep going, but I can talk about that all day.
Let's talk about. Will you tell us a little bit about what's the state of cannabis in Pennsylvania?
My opinion on the state of what the state of cannabis
like
is in Pennsylvania, or what it is.
Where are we at with legalization in Pennsylvania?
What do you mean by legalization?
Are we at medical? I'm not really sure. You're from Pennsylvania.
Okay, so right now they definitely have medical. I don't think they have rec yet. I know their rec or their medical program is, you know, devoured by MSOs already. It's kind of like a Florida. It was basically predetermined, and that's what kept on getting. That's what's really sketchy, right? Like, how the hell are people like predetermine these licenses from out of state when it's just like these people are like in jail for like doing that same shit? And it's like sure, maybe they didn't file the paperwork, but homies are like doing big time for this shit, and like these people are making generational wealth, and it's just bullshit. Like straight bullshit. And like for me personally, it's just like I always say, it's like even like a part of me is in the jail, dude. That's why I'm so tenacious with this shit, because it's like, yeah, even though like I guess I got it easy, it's like for me, it's like I don't like that doesn't like give me a reason to stop. That gives me a reason to fight harder, because like yes, I care about patient rights, but I also care about like just human rights, right? Like it's not like it doesn't take a scientist to kind of figure out, or a ethical person to figure out, hey, someone's making billions off a plant, and for some reason in this part of the country they're telling you you'll do like big jail time, or this part of the country you can only grow this amount of plants, and it's just like, go fuck yourself. Like you can't. Why are you telling me how many plants I can't grow when this guy clearly, Boris Jordan, CEO of Curaleaf, is like the first cannabis billionaire? It still pisses me off. People want to blow Berner's dick about being a billionaire. Meanwhile, fucking homie Curaleaf has been a billionaire for fucking like, well, I don't know, we're coming up on 5 years now. Berner's just catching up to that motherfucker.
Now, let me ask you this. With all of this Ukraine situation and all these sanctions on Russia, does it strike you as odd that a giant billionaire Russian would be allowed to just openly operate a cannabis company in the United States?
Well, I encourage you to do some research, because I pointed this out myself, and there's literally an article of him explaining his life living in New York, and it said, granted, it was back in the 90s, or maybe it was early 2000s, and he literally talks about how he is Russian. It says, I am Russian. I was raised in the US, but I am Russian. And like he literally goes on saying how he only does Russian things in the US, right? And then that whole shit drops, and then all of a sudden I'm 50-50, man. You can't hate me. I'm 50-50. Like he literally came out and said he's 50-50. But there's literally an article saying that he is Russian. There's no mention of him being fit, and it was with a Russian news article. So of course, so was he, when he's in Russia, he's Russian, and when he's not in Russia, he's half Russian. You know what I mean? It's like bullshit. It's the political bullshit, and that's what, and that's why I got mad at the blacklist, dude. That blacklist page is fucking garbage because the blacklist X, Y, and Z, they literally posted like a year or so prior that it's like, hey, why is Russian money like Boris Jordan taking over America? Like it was literally an article they posted. And then when all this shit started dropping, they posted like, oh, it's a crazy story. This is all bullshit. And I'm just like, bro, you're the one that posted not even a year ago that it was Russian money in the US. And now it's bullshit? Okay. Okay. Like I'm not a, here's what I hate. Listen, like I'm a real crazy dude and I'm a little reckless, you know, I'm a little dumb, but I'm not stupid, right? Like I'm dumb. I'll admit I'm dumb, but I'm not stupid. Like you can't, like you can try to run shit past it, and like I'll let some shit through like a little bit, but like when shit don't add up, it don't add up, and don't tell me 2 + 2 = 7. It just doesn't add up, you know.
And now, can we talk a little bit about this Supreme Court case that you guys brought to Massachusetts?
Oh God.
That seems like a good segue into that.
I'll be honest. I can only talk about it so much because I have to sign an NDA on.
Sure.
But I don't mind going to say it was the biggest waste of money that we knew we all had to do. Essentially.
What were the charges that you were trying to bring? Can we talk about that?
So the biggest issue was like with our because we had a residency clause. And we still had out-of-state operators coming in and operating. And our point of view, Dawson at the time before his accident, his big point of view was, how are these multi-state operators, you know, able to even move money from state to state when they make it off of cannabis, because that's against the Commerce Clause. And we were saying like, so how are these people that I think it was Acreage Holdings that is like 49% owned by the state of Delaware. I think the original story was that could have changed now. So like, you know, asterisk, no pun intended. What did I just say? I got off.
We were talking about this lawsuit and
thank you. And then so that was the whole thing was like, how are the out-of-state operators putting, you know, money from Delaware, you know, essentially from the state, or like using Delaware as a funnel to funnel money to this state through Delaware, through like a corporation through Delaware up to the state. Like either way, you're like, this is illegal against the Commerce Clause. This is illegal money, like going state to state.
Can you talk about that Commerce Clause? Because I know we talked about this before. Could you explain that a little bit?
I mean, really, I'll explain what I understand.
Or the in-state, you have to live in-state to own a cannabis business or something like that.
No, you're talking about the residency requirement.
Yeah. Could you explain
not
that?
The Commerce Clause.
Could you explain the
residency?
Commerce Clause
like a federal level thing.
Okay. Can you explain the residency thing real quick?
Yeah. So all we were requiring is that you would have to be a resident to operate as a caregiver. That was like one of the very few rules. But here's the thing though. Part of some of the groups, I'm not saying I didn't agree with this, but you know, I knew like states like certain states, I'll say, what would happen is certain states did have residency requirements too. And what would happen is the MSOs would come up to really, and this is what you really should fucking clip and air, really. So here's what happened. So a lot of these states did have or do have residency requirements. Maine wasn't like the only one. I know they did have a couple. So MSOs got smart. To get around that, what they did was they knocked on the door of a lot of your normal associations. They said, hey, normal friends, how about this? We're going to give you 5 to 10% of sales to use your residency. And a lot of people said yes. And that's why you see a lot of these normal groups now, they don't pay people really, right? They give them jobs. You see a lot of like normal people will also work for like MSOs now and shit. And that's not a coincidence. I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but again, don't tell me 2 + 2 = 7. And that's why I've lost all trust in normal. I know there's some good normal chapters all out there, but normal's dead. Normal's dead. Normal's infiltrated. Yeah, you couldn't pay me to trust normal at this point, unfortunately.
Damn.
I mean, I like to think otherwise. I'd like to think otherwise, but more times than not, the lobbyists or big interest money groups already planted a seed or a few seeds, or even on them, the normal association themselves, to take over. And really, I feel like a lot of the true grassroots efforts to protect small farmers is really just getting thrown out the wayside.
Do you know any of these small grassroots organizations up in Maine? Is that sort of what you were talking about?
I think that's what Dawson Julia was, right? I think that's what like pulled me to him. He kind of reached out to me because I was just being wild on the internet, like just calling people out how I saw it. And he said, yo, you need to like, here's what Dawson always told me, and I'll always like remember it. And I mean, he's still alive, but this is one thing I always know. He always said, look, you're right about a lot of shit, but your timing can never be worse. And so I've always replayed that in my head over and over and over for ever since his accident. It really has been stuck in my head. So it's all about timing of information, not just the information itself.
I feel like I've heard that before myself.
Yeah, no, it really is though, dude. It's like, and honestly, at the time too, I really didn't take any thought of it. But like when I heard it's like, when someone like you look up to is basically on their deathbed and told they're gonna die like twice, you start rethinking like, yo, what did he used to tell me? What did he used to say? And I literally always hear it in my head, like, yo, definitely want to get a big piece of information, probably like yourself being a journalist. I don't identify as a journalist. I don't really identify. Sorry, I just see it in your name. That's why I just say it.
No, and I know you said you don't like being identified as an advocate or an activist.
I just think it's just like I just think it's not an advocate or activism when it's just the common sense right thing, right? It's just like I guess it's the acts that I do, the acts that I do would be labeled as activism, but these are just the steps you have to take in America, right? Like that's how I look at it. And like if that labels you as an activist, I guess, but I really don't like the term because it's just like just comes with too much too much shit. Like I don't think there should be any awards that say activist of the year in cannabis right now. I think that's bullshit. And no one's the activist of the year or advocate of the year. None of that shit even exists.
I was going to say, is that a thing?
Yeah, some people award those.
Those award shows are just big circle jerks.
I get like wanting to like applaud people and doing a good job, but as soon as you start tiering people, even have presidents, start giving them awards, people get complacent, people get lazy, people lose, people get fooled. You know what I mean? Like I always joke. I said this in a group chat the other day. It's like, I have my PhD, y'all. I'm poor, I'm hungry, and I'm driven. Like if I say those three things, dude, I'm not gonna stop. But as soon as I'm the same way, I'll be the first one in a minute. As soon as you give me an attaboy or a pat on the back, I do kick it down a second step. I honestly do. Like I do. It's just human nature. So for me, it's like, no, dude, like I don't want no one like saying, good job, Shirley. Oh, you're doing God's work, Shirley. All this stupid shit. It's like, no, we are light years from that shit, y'all. That's why it's like I talked like that's why I like said to you earlier, like I need like the whole point of like then even I know I'm jumping the gun a little bit.
You suck, Shirley.
No, I mean,
you're terrible.
I don't even want that. I'm gonna keep driving regardless. You know what I mean? It's just like I've been consistent.
I felt that 100%.
I've been consistently preaching the same thing since I've been here in like 2017, and it's like just now people are catching up to what the message is. And I just feel like I don't really care it took that long. I'm just happy like we're just having the conversations going. And that's the biggest thing, right? If the Commerce Clause not going to let us travel with our meds or whatever across state lines legally or whatever, then what's the next best thing? We have to educate ourselves across state lines with technology like this, with other forms of methods of like social media, right? Because like really, like all this is a race to educate the masses before federal legalization.
And how the fuck do you do that? The masses, it seems like the masses take a while to catch on to anything. Like you said,
you've been preaching. But watching how many people actually caught on even in the last 3 fucking years, it's phenomenal for me. So that's why I'm so passionate and like believing like it could be a nationwide awakening. It absolutely could be. Like I've already seen like I hate to use this term because it has such bad condensation, but like it's like little like supercells of people like popping up all over the country of like, yo, this is fucking bullshit. Fuck these MSOs, and usually the same like 5 points on how they fuck them over. And it's like consistently across this country. And then now it's like these MSOs, I don't know what you believe in or whatever, but I believe in some form of karma in a sense. I'm not saying I believe karma to a textbook T, but these people have been putting so much bad energy across the nation out there. The universe is going to work its shit out. You know what I mean? And the fact that enough people have been awakened to even the last, like when I say awakened, I just mean aware of consuming. Because like, listen, if we can wrap people's heads around how consuming commercial cannabis is bad, can you imagine what the limit is? And like going back to grassroots of like small farms and really like why we should support, the rest of the shit. Why we actually support small. You know what I mean? And I think that's really kind of like my huge giant picture of it, right? I really think like, hey, let's all agree on cannabis and like realize like these big guys, sure, you can smoke their shit, sure, it's cheap, sure, but like reality, you are putting small business. This is like one of the first times there's a giant freight train coming. We have it like literally like a hemp rope stick chance of stopping it. And the more we add to our conversation, the thicker and thicker that rope gets to stop the train. And again, and I hear this every day. I'm fully aware it's a losing battle. I'm fully aware, but I just don't give up. I'm going to make sure when someone says, "Hey, was anyone fighting, or did they just let their country get plowed over by commercialization of cannabis?"
Right, but like. And I feel the same way sometimes with journalism. Like it feels like a losing battle, but also if you don't do anything, it's definitely a losing battle, right?
Well, here's what I think about it. And this is one reason why I like started podcasting. Are you familiar with like People of New York? Like on Facebook?
Yeah,
back in the day. Yeah. It was like real popular like early 2010s.
Yeah.
But that's how I kind of look at my podcast. Like every year I try to at least get like a couple shows recorded because I want it to be like a point in time when people can really look back and say, what were people thinking during this time in cannabis change? Right. So like I have like real life people's point of view. So it's like not really for me. It's like, yes, it's journalism to an extent, but it's really, I looked at it more of as a historian standpoint. I think this is kind of
what why I say too. Journalism.
Yeah, it's really a historian standpoint more than journalistic, because it's like I just want to have this stamp, even if it's just for my fucking son, if he ever fucking cares. He might not ever fucking care, but like I just want to have something to say like, yo, do you want to really know what went down before cannabis became commercialized? You want to know how it really fucking was? This is how it went down. And that's like really my really preserving. I like to think of not even saving. I don't even like saying the word save. I like to think of the word, especially in Maine, preserving and protecting.
Right. You tell a story, you're passing knowledge along.
Because everyone's happy with how everything is, like more times than not. Sure, some people heard this, they'll be like, shut the fuck up, Shirley, you don't know what you're talking about. But like, dude, I know from talking to people from all over this country, Maine has one of the easiest accesses to become a caregiver. It's one of the cheapest.
They have some great medical products too. It's boy. Some of
And
the
dude, they
concentrates.
don't have, but dude, they don't have mandatory testing, nor excuse me, that's disgusting. They don't have mandatory testing, nor do they have track and trace in medical. But that's
Can we
why
come?
we're booming, because we're able to keep the costs down so small farmers can survive, and then the market decides who survives essentially.
Can we take 5 minutes and let me go take a leak and we come back to
For
this?
sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Okay. Beautiful.
Let me go.
Welcome back to the Fine Print. Sorry for that interruption. We're back with Derek Shirley here, getting high with Cats, who's come back with a fresh background that I very much appreciate.
Sorry, I knew you said the lighting was kind of weird, and I was like, well, long story short, the reason, okay, I once had this background, and I had like just my logo as like my thumbprint, and I was gonna give public testimony in a Zoom, and someone else was giving public testimony, and it was just my thumbprint. They literally stopped it and forced me to change it. So like that's why my shit was all naked. I usually do have a nice like cover and shit. But ever since then, I've like been hella paranoid if I get yelled at when I give public testimony or whatever on Zoom. So that's why I was like, oh shit, I definitely know I have a background in here somewhere I can use.
So
that's what I did on my break. I found a background.
Before we left, we were talking a little bit about testing, I believe.
Yes.
We were talking about these MSOs and the testing. What is the testing like up in Maine?
So right now there's only mandatory testing in adult use. There's no mandatory testing in medical. But people can go and test, like get their shit tested at a reasonable price depending on what you're trying to test.
So the medical products are not required to be tested?
No, they are not, because there's two rules that there's two kind of thoughts on this, right? Maine has had medical cannabis since 1999. You know how many complaints we received since that time for about bad medicine from 40. The GA's office, anything like that?
42.
0. So the other point, and the other more logical, which I like to look at, is where, and this is something I kind of learned from Mark Burnett. He kind of explained it to me like this: it's where is the public health data that shows what the information on the tests mean to your body, for example. It's like, it's cool that we can know, like, all right, this flower has 23% THC, let's just say, 2% terpenes or whatever. So great, we know that's information in that plant. What does that THC mean, and that combination of combustions mean to our body, right? What does that actually mean to our body to deem for public safety? And that's like always the big thing, right? They're like, oh, we have to do it for public safety. We have to. And it's like, okay, but like, where is the data, the public health data, the studies that show like, okay, 23% THC does this much good or this much bad or this much nothing to your body over time when you consume.
Right. That's just a number, sort of, in a vacuum.
Right. What did I say on the phone? That one time I said we're only hyper focusing on the numbers that we actually have. Right. And you can't, why we hyper focus, and like same thing with THC caps, like same concept. How can we justify this when we don't have the data that shows what that means?
Does Maine have THC caps?
Yes.
What are they?
Oh, there's none.
Oh, so Maine. So I was going to say
let me take that back. The only, maybe I guess you could call it THC cap is, I think in adult use there's like you can only get 100 milligram edibles, I think, but again, that's not really. I mean, I guess that is a cap, but like
only 50 here in Vermont.
Yeah, there's no cap. There's no, like in medical, there's no cap and shit. We're no cap state for sure.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, that was an
Because again,
obvious.
it's like, all right, let's say the highest THC in the fucking world. What the fuck does that mean to your body? And the real answers, in my opinion, um, are because of the VA, dude. The VA has been studying cannabis since 2011, roughly, and has released zero information of their findings.
Hmm.
And that's really, I think, because again, I'm not even saying like I'm not even saying I'm against the act of testing. I understand there could be good forms of testing, but at the same time, but to mandate it on small farmers, that's going to put them out of business. Especially when I'm talking to people from across the country, when their people are saying, "Oh, hey, the medicine is so expensive because of testing," and it's just like they're literally telling us here, "Oh, don't worry about it. It won't be that expensive." And it's just like, how is it in every other state around us and across the country, they're telling them, oh, testing's expensive. But for some reason here in Maine, it's going to be cheap as shit. You know what I mean? And that's like, and that's another reason why I stand firmly on the we don't need mandatory testing. And here's another big reason, and I'm going to kind of lean into something. Another thing about that is, okay, what is everyone's like other big concern usually?
The kids.
I mean, yes, other than the kids, but on their cannabis, right? They're worried about like Eagle 20, right? The pesticides.
Sure.
They're like, oh, what about pesticides? We got to test for that shit. I agree. I think pesticides are terrible. I don't think anyone should really ever use pesticides. I mean, yeah, I don't think anyone, and no one should be using Eagle 20, right? But do you know why people?
Why specifically Eagle 20?
Great, thank you for that question. That leads me right into this. So, Eagle 20, when combusted, makes hydrogen cyanide. Okay, so
that's
bad. But here's the question I ask everyone else: how much, when you're combusting, when you're using a lighter, a flame, whatever, when you're combusting, even the cleanest of cannabis, the cleanest due to lab standards, how much hydrogen cyanide is created alone when combusted, even in the cleanest of cannabis? And again, I am not for Eagle 20. I think that shit is terrible. I only use Eagle 20 as an example because it creates hydrogen cyanide, which happens to also be created when you combust a plant as any really organic material as well, when you combust it and inhale it. And same thing with the vapes, dude. Metals, dude. Like, I mean, you're really cutting hairs when you're like, oh, this is safe. You know, even if that distillate or whatever you're smoking, live rosin, is the safest, like material, cleanest material, you're inhaling it through metal. Like, come on. Like, you don't think that'll test? You don't think that smoke will test high for high metals? And I mean, not to call, not, you know what I mean, just saying as an example, you know what I mean? It's like, that's why there's so much. And then on top of that, remediation, right? We didn't even touch on that. There's so many ways, like adult use, I know for sure, like people are just getting around testing anyway.
The so Miox, those type of chemicals that you spray to sort of remediate powder mildew and things like that.
Well, one of the biggest issues I have is just like, there's no third party collecting the sample. So of course, like there's like, so any mojo is going to go, like he can just collect his own sample and be like, oh, this shit's it. You know what I mean?
That's a great point. That's a great point that someone mentioned to me that said maybe the state should be responsible for sending someone out to collect. So that way you're not just getting people taking their own state. Like, here's my best fucking nugget. I'm going to send that to the state. And
yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I truly think if when they do it, like whenever they do yearly, whatever inspection, do a sample, do a test then. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even saying you have to, like, I'm against them mandating, like, because they wanted like every batch, every fucking thing. You know what I mean? If you want to come, like, again, I'm not speaking for everyone. This is just my personal opinion, to be clear. I'm not like speaking for anybody. This is just like my opinion. I really don't like personally have a problem with that. I think it's still stupid. I don't think there should be any testing until there's public data that shows why we test, to mandate it across the board. I think it's cool now. Like, dude, I talk to a lot of small farmers. Guess what? They're testing anyway just to see how their shit's doing.
So,
Or
so
they'll
you think the whole concept of testing is just sort of unnecessary in a way?
when it comes for public safety, yes, we're inhaling smoke. It reminds me of a 1950 cigarette ad. You know what I mean? It's like, how can anyone out here market to say, oh, we have safe, clean smoke to inhale in your lungs?
It's
You
like
know,
clean
it
coal,
just
like
doesn't
clean
fucking doesn't
coal.
make sense.
Yeah, yeah.
It
Okay.
just doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? Like, especially like, if you're combusting shit, dude, you're fucking inhaling, you're already inhaling smoke, dude. Like that shit is not healthy for you. I don't care what
So
level.
maybe sort of it's already inherently dangerous, and maybe we shouldn't impose this extra cost onto businesses to prove that it's not, or
Well,
something like
dude,
that.
my thing is what I was about to say too is like a lot of these small farmers, they'll have a nice bunch of strains, and they'll like then like maybe one will fucking crush, and they're like, why did that one crush like sales wise? Like, why did all the patients scoop that one? You know what I mean? And then they'll go test it and find out, oh shit, that one was a high terp count or something. You know what I mean? Like, so there is like, I do see advantages when you're making like maybe that sort of decision. I
Sure,
do understand that.
sure, man.
I can see the value, but to say it's for public safety is fucking trash. Like there's just not a leg to stand on because the science, and just think how much science we came with cannabis between now and then. Like, and like look out west. You should look up the corruption and the labs out west, dude. It's like it's just so frustrating that like people put all their eggs in this information that is easily can be altered.
And I've heard this too about people lab shopping, sort of shopping around
Yeah,
to find a lab.
yeah.
And I actually asked a guy about this in a previous interview. His name was Scott Waring. He has a PhD. He helped sequence the cancer genome. He's a very smart guy. And I asked him, I said, hey, is there any way to fudge these tests? Like, remember when you used to buy weed and the guy would like put his finger on the scale while he's weighing it out to like,
Yeah.
and that was basically, that was the gist of my question. Like, is there any way to fudge lab results like that? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, not to say that anyone would or is doing that,
But it's possible.
but right to say it is
And that's the
possible.
biggest thing, and that's why the MSOs hate the like the not testing post because that's their leg they stand on, right? They stand on that public safety for testing, so people like think their shit's safe, and it's like, bro, we are inhaling smoke, like we are inhaling smoke, people. Like we're not like, and dude, and I know some people say, oh, vaping flower. Okay, bro, you're still heating it with a fucking battery. Like,
How about dabs where you like do it cold starts or something like that?
I mean, I guess that might be, but again, it's like it's I don't want to be like the born again Christian, like don't have sex, but like it's like the cleanest the cleanest thing to for like nothing. I don't. Sure, I guess I think people get mad because I get hung up on the word safe, but like I just get so triggered like learning about like safe smoke and clean smoke like in fifth and sixth, seventh, eighth grade about big tobacco. And it's like, how the hell can people be like, oh yeah, because of this piece of paper right here, even though what does 23% THC mean to my body? I don't fucking know, but it's safe. Like bullshit.
It does
Like
feel, it does have some of that same feeling of the tobacco sort of thing. Not quite as bad because I know like, but like edibles, it seems like maybe edibles is the way to go, honestly.
but
Oh,
again, it goes back to public health data. Where is it? To
mm,
show
right.
what does that mean?
How about the roadside safety test and that kind of shit? Because in Vermont, that held up the bill for a while. Phil Scott said that was the main reason he held it back. He wanted to do um, saliva testing, and now I think what
Dude,
they've
those saliva testing are one of the easiest ones to like fake. Like those are the easiest ones to cheat, dude. Like you can like you those are like the ones you can't just like do a quick like mouthwash and you could be like fucking good. Or even the old penny suck probably would do the job. You know? Like
But
but
like it seemed like those type of I know I feel like in Colorado they have a limit of
I'm
like
not gonna
5
lie.
nanograms per milliliter or or something like that for blood. And it's like, who came up with these fucking numbers?
No, and that's a good point though. You bring that up. I did some canvassing for about like medical and adult use medical and adult use cannabis in the town of Scarborough last summer. And one of the two biggest concerns I heard from like average people in a house were people driving and smoking while high and weed stored at every corner were the two common things I heard the most. Were like average people's fears, which honestly in Maine I think is great. You know what I mean? Because like, let's face it, like I know we all drive kind of stoned, and some of us even smoke stoned, whatever, or drive stoned, whatever. But like those are pretty good. But like, if those are people's honest concerns, and that's the most thing I can work with that. You know what I mean? That's sure. That's not these people are big bringing crime. You know what I mean? Just like, hey, I'm just scared of people driving high and like hitting my kid. I'm like, all right, I get you. I under. They just, I feel like they just picture Dave Chappelle skit in their head when they're like when he's driving to the fast food. Like that's literally what all these people just see in their head now. It's kind of Dave Chappelle's fault. I just think everyone's just
Dave.
No, honestly though, like I swear to God, like that's people's conception of like driving high. It's like just being at a fast food place running over a kid on a bike. Just so absurd. But anyway, I agree. I do think it's something though, like for the masses, yeah, absolutely not. But that goes kind of what I see. That's why I think it is important to be still a medical patient, because I think at some point there are going to be some advantages and safeties of that. Like I think if you're a medical patient, you might be able to like technically drive while medicated. I think Pennsylvania actually, one good thing they actually did was I think protected their patients from DUI charges. I could be wrong. I remember reading about that, I think. But I know that's one thing too. It's like I think it's, there's a few things I think, there will be, and this is again my opinion / guess to the future. I think there will be some advantages for people that actually are medical. I think there is going to be a big enough like see that people are, oh, there are people that use this for medicinal reasons, and there are people that use this for, and I think there are going to be some advantages for medical people that like aren't, I don't know though. It's like hard to say, man. It's a tough future to say, but it's like fun. That's why I love bullshitting about it, right?
Let me ask you this: what do you think about kids who have sort of seizure conditions and things like that?
Oh well, dude, that's great. I always say this. Not great. Sorry, that's terrible that kids have seizures. But great question. I always look at it like this. I always think it's insane. There's always like half, I don't want to say half, but like part of the population thinks cannabis and kids are going to become degenerates and terrible people and nuts. The other half, or the other part of the population, thinks, or knows that cannabis heals their kids from, anything from helps with their kids, anything from autism to seizures. And I think it's like, I don't know how that's a huge disconnect, right? To like, how can that be medical saving? And I know it's different for everyone. Everyone has different reactions. I'm not dismissing anyone's terrible experiences, whatever,
I believe you said there has to be a spectrum of understanding.
Yes. And knowledge of already people that's gone through it, right? And I think that's what you see. I mean, you've seen it from all over the country. You've seen it in some of the most cannabis unfriendly places. Mothers band together to like, get their kid medicine. That's like, I think it's the Georgia moms, if I'm thinking of who I'm thinking of correctly. That's like a big one. Though the current one of the board members of the coalition, Susan Meehan, she came to Maine as a cannabis refugee for her daughter. And unfortunately, her daughter's not with us anymore, but her story is phenomenal. What she did for her son, and I have mad respect for that woman and what she did for when to put everything on the line for her kid. And yeah, she's done a lot. And honestly, she's the one you want to talk to about with kids and seizures, because she's the first one you can speak. She'll tell you firsthand.
Send her over.
She's someone that's, I know we don't always see eye to eye, but at the end of the day, her cannabis journey is one of the most respected ones in my
Give her
opinion.
my number, dude.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where it's like so weird to me, that disconnect of, how is it that, like, and it's not like a majority or a minority, but like part of the population thinks, cannabis around kids is like super dangerous and like it kills kids
Yeah, but
essentially.
we also give kids Adderall. Like we give
Yeah,
8-year-olds
oh
fucking
yeah,
Adderall. Like, and that seems
yeah,
socially acceptable.
yeah. I plan to educate my son about the plant very early on in the ages. Um, I think it's just like the right thing to do. I mean, just the fucking plant. I mean, there's nothing to really be ashamed of or scared of. I still get scared at night just because, just one of those things that's just like after you get in trouble just for a couple ounces, it's like, oh man, I got four whole plants, like better. It's still it's just crazy. It's like, and that's why I know like it's so fucked up that people just go day to day making bank off this plant,
Mm.
and there's people that rot in jail. And again, like I understand like it's cool that some people can do their shit, and I respect that. I'm not trying to make anyone feel guilty, but it's kind of ridiculous that there's cannabis billionaires and there's people still sitting in jail. Or
Can
what
I?
I think, what I also equally think is bullshit is like people that like got cannabis as their third strike. I'm not saying you have to be a fucking angel to be a part of that. Be a part of that. You know what I mean? You could still be a shitty individual, frankly, in my opinion, in my eyes, but you don't deserve your third strike for cannabis.
Yeah,
You don't.
that's ridiculous.
No matter how much I disagree with your other two strikes
Yeah.
personally, no matter how much I despise the other two, your third strike does not deserve to be a cannabis strike. And like that's something I really had to like kind of put my pride. No, I don't know if it's my pride. I just had to put my shit to the side and realize that that was my biggest kind of thing to swallow.
Those 3-strike laws are fucking bullshit.
Yeah. And
Uh,
anything too, it's like everyone always associates people with guns, bro. It's like, yeah, of course I had to keep people had to keep guns on them. Like they had an air quotes an illegal plant. Like, yeah, of course. So like, and not just because they also got caught with a gun doesn't mean they're a fucking bad person. Like
but
that's the other thing that they it's hard to like associate with is like A2 rights and fucking cannabis. That's like a whole other topic. Um,
yeah, that's been a big topic of discussion here for dispensary owners that want to be able to carry guns, and they're being told, no, you're not going to be able to carry a gun, and growers as well, and which means you usually have to hire private security to come and they can't carry guns either.
it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know, man. I just think like, and I think that's why in my opinion, you're not going to see federalization for another 5 to 10 years. They're good. They haven't even started baiting it for elections yet. I mean, we're not even close.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna keep baiting us, dude. Like this is how the system works. They know, and that's what in-house really got into my head too, right? That in-house genetics. Cannabis is going to be a special interest group in the election in the next few years. Right?
However, I tend to think, let me interrupt you real quick. I tend
Go.
to think federal legalization at this point might actually be the nail in the coffin for small growers here in Vermont.
Oh, it is.
As soon as California can ship in $300 pound, and then Ben Cohen, by the way, of Ben and Jerry's, who is handing out empty fucking packaging at NECANN and talking about sustainability and shit, like they're going to grow all their weed in Colorado, and they're going to ship out their fucking stale pre-rolls and sell them for, and I think that could really, I never thought drugs should be illegal, but now I suddenly think legalizing them is just going to undercut the entire market for small farmers.
No, you're 100% right. Almost that's one way. That's one of the questions I ask people when to see where they are at in this cannabis journey, right? It's like, hey, are you for federal legalization? And if they're like, yeah, I'm like, oh shit, you know what
I
I mean? It's just
was. I've only
a lot of
recently
people are. A lot of people are
and I've
because
only recently kind of put those pieces together and sort of changed my mind. But yeah, go ahead.
well, because the biggest thing is this, man, is what they're doing is they're using federalization as a hostage exchange, right? They're probably going to be like, all right, we'll decriminalize it, we'll do this, that, and the third, let the people out. But the fine print, it's like literally commercializing cannabis. So that's why for me, it's like one of those things where it's just like we okay. So in Maine, we always I don't want to say the biggest thing we like chant and when we protest is like we want representation when you make our rules. We want representation when you make our rules. Guess what? Just like right now, that's why we're still very many years out, in my opinion, because those people, almost anyone in writing our laws federally for cannabis, absolutely should have no right writing laws when they just spent how many years locking up people, even currently for writing cannabis and cannabis.
And
So it's like, why the fuck are people? They're trying to write laws without representation, and that's fucking bullshit.
that's a point that I made in Vermont was that you know, these same people, and not just the cops either, but the legislature that authorizes them to behave in that manner, they and the government got to appoint everybody on the control board and the advisory committee and the marijuana commission that selected all those people, and that was all done privately. And I was like, there's always talk about giving people a leg up and making up for the war on drugs, but suddenly all these same people who had a hand in enforcing those laws are now carving out this entire new market.
No, exactly, dude. And dude, I so part of LD 1942, which was like when we were saying, hey, give us representation at at the state house, we want representation. The birth of the Cannabis Council of Maine was born, and that's basically how I named off like all those groups. There's some other groups I didn't mention, but basically the leaders of all those groups are on this board. So they come and talk to basically or have Zoom meetings or phone call meetings for this exact reason, basically what I'm saying right now, because they don't have representation. And one time, and some people, you can if you're like a board member, you can sometimes, if you're lucky, they'll send you the link and you can listen into the conversation, but you can't talk, you can just listen. And one time when I was listening to this guy named Vern of it's OCP now, but the Office of Cannabis Policy. And he was like a cop for like, I don't know, something stupid, like 25, 30 years. And he said this, he was like, he goes, when I pulled over a kid, like a 16-year-old speeding, you know what I would do? I would give him the stiffest, biggest penalty I could. So he never would do it again, right? He said that probably April or May, maybe maybe a little after. Let's fast forward, not even like a month ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, a license was yanked for a caregiver's license was yanked for someone like handing someone out a pre-roll without showing them their card. And I'm just like, that's when I was like, okay, this is Vern. This is what Vern's doing. He's giving people the fucking stiffest penalties he could to send a message. And that's when I knew, that's when I started messaging like people that I just know in general, like not even saying that people
what
do
is the
bad things,
message
like,
though?
hey,
I'm a
they're hunting. You know what I mean? They're hunting. They want people to fuck up. They're like, I'm telling you, they want people to fuck up on the smallest infractions right now here in Maine, so they get fucking so they can slaughter them. And dude, that's the other thing. We have 3,000 caregivers. People used to get their caregivers cards like in a month time or less. People are waiting like 8 to like 12 weeks now. They'll come up with some excuse that they're not, but they are truly deliberately slowing the process to so it's like it takes longer and harder to grow the medical.
Let me ask you this before I forget, because I heard that some of these dispensaries up in Maine would go ahead and get their employees signed up as caregivers so that they could grow more plants or something like that. And they would section it off into rooms or something to that effect.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's a lot of bullshit. There's some people that play by the rules. There's people that don't play by the rules, and there's people that know how to play by the rules with a lawyer. You know what I mean? So I don't really know, honestly.
Okay, cool. Let me
But
ask
that's
you
how
this.
I look at it. There's all spectrums of people in our program, and I think that's what makes it great, honestly. Because I think about this, it's like I used to like really hate like I used to have like a thing against like events. I used to think that they were bad. I used to think they were super shitty. But the more and more I thought about it, the more and more, and definitely as previously stated, my belief, you know, if there's no such thing as clean smoke, even if it's the dirtiest of smoke, like what's the point? Like if you're inhaling, if you're in combusting smoke, what's the fucking point, right? So if I truly believe that, if I truly with all my heart believe that, I should be able to wrap my head and rationalize by saying some of these events are actually some of the only things that are keeping the culture alive. As much as I might disagree with like some activity and shit, and it does like smear names, it does look bad, people get in trouble, they're not safe, but aren't these all things of the past?
Nothing's really
Right?
changed, right?
I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, I don't support any illegal activity whatsoever, but I'm just saying, like, that's how I kind of look at it now. Almost, it's like, are some of these like festivals or whatever you want to call them, are they actually also preserving the community in their own
How do you
way?
feel about public consumption?
Oh, dude, yeah. What? Um, I don't know. I think like every true stoner knows how to smoke in public anyway appropriately. I don't know. I don't know how to say that. I don't know.
It's a great answer.
I don't know. That's how I feel. It's like I don't need a law to tell me to smoke in public when I've been doing it for like what, over 15 years.
Yeah. Okay.
But you know, I don't know. I mean, like, should people have the right? But like, I hate cigarette smoke, so
yeah, but like, I want to go sit down by the lake and just burn a joint.
Yeah, I mean, go do that then. Don't tell nobody.
Well, I mean, I do anyway.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like what? Like that, and that's what we. But see, that's what gets dangerous, right? With this more regulation, we start asking for permission, and it's like, nah, we've been doing this shit. We don't need to ask for permission.
You know, and that's all I really wanted out of a legal. I never cared about a retail market. All I wanted was for the cops to fucking leave me alone. I never cared about selling weed, and that's cool if you want to sell weed, and I appreciate that because I'm a customer all the way. But all I wanted was cops to leave me alone, and now they're training new drug recognition experts here in Vermont. They're adding a bunch of those on, and it's like, wait a minute, this seems like we're going the other direction, sort of, and now we just have more reasons to sort of like fuck with people.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's like it's a danger because like dude, we always need, and that's another thing why I think Maine's good. I think we always need that push for that cannabis like normalcy of it, right? We always need to have it pushed for like that. We want people to feel normal around it, so we have to like, you know, there has to be a spectrum of people playing by the rules with a lawyer, playing gray, and playing traditional. It is what it is. I think that's the ecosystem. Sure, people like to say, oh, corporate cannabis has a place, and you know, maybe it doesn't have to. I think I feel like it's a product that people can grow almost anywhere. They really don't need people to, you know.
Right, we're not making semiconductor chips or something, you know, like
right, and like but I think they know they can't control it then, which makes everyone uncomfortable, right? As soon as they don't know it, as soon as they don't have control, they get uncomfortable. But that's why I really started like talking to people nationwide, because like that's where I started learning, like, yo, a lot of us have these same exact issues, but usually at different stages of it. One of the saddest stories is out in like Colorado Springs. I listened to this individual basically saying, like, yo, we're like 2 bills away from like losing our medical program. Like I had to decide between my son's med card and my own med card. And it just gets tighter and tighter, and it's just really sad. And it's like one of those things where like, bro, like, and they were straight up, they were like, yo, protesting won't work. They were just like protesting sucks. They're like they look at protesting as unethical. They were like it was crazy, but like they would do, but dude, they would do crazy shit. Like this lady, her name, what was her name? I have to look it up. She literally made like tombstones and put them at the state house. So because I guess a lot of people she works with like aren't able to like literally hold a sign or like literally even physically show up. So like it's crazy. Like she has to come up with super creative ways to get their attention, and that's like the type of shit I want to listen to because like they're years into this shit, and frankly, like we're just like we're at a good fighting point. We're definitely fucking underdogs, but if we bob and weave correctly, we can get out of this. You know what
Do
I
you
mean?
want to talk about this anti MSO sort of protest that's being put together?
Yeah. So, I seen in a couple of things. People are like I spearheaded it and shit, and I just want to clear the air. Like, I don't think I really spearheaded it. I really think like I literally have been talking to a lot of these people for a long period of time, just not in a group chat. You know what I mean?
So
It's
you
like
just started a group chat.
I guess, yeah. I started the group chat. Some people are more active, some people don't like it. Like some people like, I mean, they like the cause, but like they don't like group chat. And it's like my whole message in the group chat is like, listen, I don't care how you talk about what you talk about. I don't care if it's in this group chat. I don't care if it's on Discord. I don't care like wherever it is. I don't give a shit. But really, the anti-MSO month is really a race to educate the masses on what's happening in corporate cannabis. And it's crazy to listen to like people like in Chicago, people in even like Florida. Dude, Florida's getting like they have a bill coming out about to wax them, dude. Straight up tell them how much they can smoke and shit. Like, get fucked. And it's like Maine's law is like a patient can have up to 8 pounds in their possession.
8 pounds.
Yes, but you can only purchase the 2.5.
I'm coming over, sweetheart.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't know that, but that is actually the your possession limit.
Damn.
Um,
Okay.
and they actually tried to come for that one time. We shot them down real quick. Um, but the whole point is sorry, I got off track. So the whole point is we really want to stand in solidarity. We're all coming together. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different viewpoints, different political parties for that matter. My whole point of view is as long as you agree, everyone should have home grow rights. Everyone should have cannabis should be decriminalized, and everyone should be let out of jail for cannabis related charges.
Like
If you
yesterday.
if you believe in those three things, I think you believe in what you stand for. But that's the hardest part. The hardest part is focusing on just those three things, because I believe America as a whole has been dividing and conquering us for way too long. And again, 2 + 2 = 7. You don't have to tell me what's happening. I'm not going to be divided and conquered. So I'm willing to work with anyone. Uh, anyone, don't care if you believe in those three things. I think, and you believe in those three things. I think we can do a lot of good. Right now, I know we have. I think there's 18 states participating. Some are way more organized than others. Some, and that's not a dig on other states, but some people like just found out like this is kind of like an issue. Like this is what you can do. Or like, oh wait, you had like bills in your state and you like stopped them or you like fought, and it's like, yeah, you can do that. And they're like, what? And it's just like, so it's like literally, but it goes back to like, even if people don't go out and protest, right? It's really just about having conversations. And it's like that's kind of like what if I do anything, I just want to be the person that made the bridges, right? Or maybe like connect the right people to talk to the right people. I'm not everyone's always a cup of tea. I'm sometimes aggressive, overpowering.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but and
feel
I'm
you.
okay with that though. Like I don't take it personally. Like it is what it is. And like But like, if you agree with those three things, we can still work with each other in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to talk to me ever, but if you agree with those three things, like, shouldn't we all fight? And that's kind of like
Sometimes
the whole.
sometimes you need someone that's a little aggressive to get things done. If you're going to meet with politicians, not to be a dick to say, but like you need someone who's willing to sort of confront people. And
Yeah, no, but really, you need all shades of people. That's what it
right,
is.
right,
You
exactly,
need
yeah,
you like I also need the Chads in my life.
yeah.
Chads do great in the fucking state house. They crush it. I hate it, but they crush it. Chads crush it in the state house. But that's why the corporate cannabis has got them by the nuts, right? Because a lot of Chads run that shit. But like there are some Chads out there that like don't want to speak up because they get labeled Chad. And it's like, but in reality, they could be huge assets. And it's like one of those things. That's why I try to be open. You know what I mean? Like I have my personal beliefs, but like I don't have to. This is not the time for my personal belief speech, right? This is my
If any
time.
Chads are listening, we're still
No,
open to talking.
no. I mean, it goes from both ways. Like I joke, dude. I don't have a college degree. I barely graduated high school. I'm a felon. Like there's people with MBAs in that group. There's like people with law degrees, not lawyers. I don't think we have any lawyers in there yet. We have cartoonists. You know what I mean? Artists. Like there's people.
Brian?
You know what I mean? We have all branches of people. And I think, and honestly, one thing I'm super proud of, I think we have a great representation of women and people of color, frankly here in Maine, like there's a lot of lack of diversity, and in New England in
Yeah,
general, to a certain
I'm in
point.
Vermont. Yeah.
So, like for me, it's like I think that's hugely important. And True Cannabis Equity out in Chicago, I think that's her. It's We the People, True Cannabis Equity. They do awesome work, doing protests, um, speaking up for the people, knowing because we have to think a lot of people, especially in Chicago, like majority of people, not even 10 years ago, people of color being locked up for jail for cannabis left and right. You know what I mean? Especially in Chicago. So I don't expect people, especially, I don't mean this in a rude way, but I don't expect people from Maine to maybe rationalize that. You know what I mean? Because they don't experience that. I mean, should they? Sure. But like, I don't like, you can't, you can't really expect that all the time. And
Didn't
I
you
think
say
that's
they were
why.
doing a social equity, a fucking lottery in some of these states where they just
Oh yeah, it's terrible. Yeah. I know you're in our nationwide group. You should chat her up. She'll tell you all about that. She was telling me about it. It's
like
crazy.
30,000 applicants and they pick like 15?
Yeah, it was. I forget what it was. It was nuts.
That sounds wild.
But it's one of those things. But it's one of those things where it's like if people can come together on three solid points, like I think you're going to see a huge. I don't want to even say the word change, but I think you're going to see a bigger accelerant in the issues in cannabis. I think it's like I'm honestly fucking like I think Biden's trash for not doing anything with the cannabis people. Not to get political, but like I think I like to say I'm purple, right? It's definitely here in Maine. If you're supporting my local farmers and protecting my local farmers, I don't care if you're red or blue.
Do you see my logo, Derek?
Purple. There you go. But no, that's how I kind of feel. It's like there's too much splitting, and that's why it's like I think if you can get the people on the board of the green and the cannabis, I think you're going to see a lot of these swing states become green states, honestly. Because go ahead.
Oh no, I finish that, and then I got one more question for you.
All right, no, I think I'm done on that point.
Okay, I just want to touch on the banking because you mentioned that earlier, and I didn't want to blow the lid off that, but like let's do the banking piece real quick, and then I think that's a good note to go out on here because I've reached the end of my notes, sir.
Okay, cool.
Good.
So Seaport was like I think they were the first ones to allow banking for the Maine cannabis caregivers.
Seaport is a credit union in Maine, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And then like I forget what year, but then other ones kind of started popping up. like not many. There wasn't a lot, but I remember I went to like a business with commerce meeting in Waterville, and there was like one there saying they do like cannabis businesses. But anyway, fast forward, and this was before the launch, the official launch of adult use. Um, so I think in the beginning, I think people were pretty happy because they could do their banking, the taxes, and I think people were pretty chill. They were bitch here and there, and then at one point they did a huge hike in like cash deposits, and people got super pissed, and that was like the first thing. And then at one point, and I think this was then after adult use. Um, right now, you could really only do banking if you're a medical caregiver in Maine. You can't have a bank right now. They're not taking any new more clients, and the fees they are charging the cannabis farmers are outrageous. Like from the cash deposit to like a monthly business fee. I was talking to one gentleman, like on like if he has like a good cash month or something between the fee and the business fee and like cash deposit fee, he's looking at like sometimes like close to $1,000 in fees. And like,
Well, with one of the credit unions here in Vermont, if you have multiple licenses, you're going to be paying 2,500 a month through NEFC, New England Federal Credit Union. So you'd be
yeah,
paying 30 grand a year if you have more than one license.
see, and like because I don't know what the legal like what the dip like what like the translation is from the two, like Vermont to Maine. But I think what one of the biggest things is just like the fees are outrageous and it's extortion essentially. Not saying it is, but it basically is because like people have no other banking option. So now the banks at one point they're like, all right, you can't bank anywhere else. Now, oh, and then the other big thing, they want to track and trace, right? They want to track and trace proof. So they want access to your like QuickBooks and all this shit. But oh, they say QuickBooks because we don't have a seed to sale program. With adult use, they have metric. So you can basically, if you have a metric, if you have an adult use license, you basically can get, I don't want to say anywhere, but like it's easier to get banking in adult use right now than medical. But I think, again, that's by design to start squeezing the small businesses, making people put money back under their mattress and shit. But that's one reason why part of my protest I am probably going to throw a protest at one because they keep on saying it's like not them. It's like, bro, you make the fees. Like you figure it out. We literally like that's the issue, right? They literally did so much banking with the cannabis people. Like we fucking built like probably 5 fucking stores for them. You know what I mean? Like we did so much business for them in the beginning. Like we put them on the map in Maine, low key. Like they won't like to hear that, but the cannabis farmers did, bro. They put them on the fucking map and put money in their fucking bank. And then they realize, oh, look how much money these motherfuckers are putting in the bank. And then they start putting these ridiculous fucking fees. And like you should have a Maine farmer on because they can definitely go into it more personally with like the exact numbers.
Send them
Um,
over.
but it's one of those things where it's like unreal that and because they're not doing it with any other business. So it's like, why are you doing this to us versus
Does that feel kind of discriminatory?
yeah, that's what we always tell people. Like it's like same thing with the licensing, and that's same with like the city ordinance in Portland. Same thing. It's like you're literally their city ordinance is literally breaking the state statute law. So it's like I don't even know how you guys are even functioning as people when I mean functioning like houses. And but here's the other thing: the AGs aren't stepping in anywhere. Like I know people that like have already written like to the attorney general, like saying like, "Yo, these people aren't like following law, not just in Maine, in their own fucking states, in different states, and no one's enforcing these cannabis laws." So that's why another reason why like I decided the nationwide protest is the next probably best route. And honestly, like that's why I threw the banks in there because they're part of the huge issues, especially when there's cannabis farmers that are small businesses. And it's just another way they keep squeezing us. I know multiple times in this I mentioned like how like there's certain things, it's a bunch of little things they do to squeeze.
Death by 1,000 cuts.
It's definitely now since they can't get us in the regulations. You know what I mean? Because we've been boxing them in the state house for years. So it's like they can't even like. So now they're just like trying to wean people out the best way. They're the only way they know how.
you know, the AG in Vermont got to a point, the chairman of the board, I believe, and also like 3 members of the advisory committee out of like 17 chairs, the AG's office got 4 of them
Yeah. And
after
it's one of those,
decades of sort of prosecuting these drug crimes.
yeah, and it's crazy too.
Two cops in the advisory committee. No medical patients.
I haven't gone down the rabbit hole because I frankly haven't had the time, but I've had multiple people tell me that I need to look at who's on the board of directors of the Seaport and compare it to a few things, and I just don't have the time. And some people, it's like you probably get this, but like sometimes, dude, you get these like I don't always follow every rabbit hole I get because you'll find, dude, if you get good at this, I mean, not saying you aren't good, but the more you do this, the more like you do research on this. I know you said you've been down a rabbit hole ever since you started, basically. Just know when you start hitting the right chords, people will start feeding you fake leads. It is what it is.
Yeah,
like people do feed you fake shit.
You gotta know how to sort that shit out, and usually, you know. And look, I do follow up on everything. I'll listen to just about anyone's story, but like I can usually tell up front if it's gonna be bullshit. I'll still listen to it, but you know, because I don't like to be dismissive. You know, maybe I'm just wrong. You know, but like you do, there's a lot of red herrings and goose chases and fucking, you know, you know. It's hard, but like, you know, it's
hard. For your time today, man.
I really this has been great. We're gonna wind it down, dude. I thought that was a good bong hit to end on. I always like to. I'm supposed to thank you for your time. That's my line that you just stole from me at the end there. But you know, I always leave the last minute for my guests here, so I'm gonna just leave it open for you. Whatever you want to say, or nothing. But this is all you, man. Thanks again, Derek. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem here. I'm going to put 60 seconds on the
Your work has been slightly inspirational.
Well, thank you. All I ever want is people to speak up. I think the biggest thing that people should know is just like, yes, you know, we care about the growth of the current industry, but when it comes to the current growth of the industry and the community, we can't forget about the people that are behind us in jail. So I think it's extremely important that we continue. Before we take any more steps further, we have to get the people out of jail first and foremost. We didn't touch on this, but I'm gonna just throw it in here. You know, I get why people are for cannabis unions, and I'm not saying I'm for nor I'm not saying my opinion either way on that. But I think the human rights has to be first. I think we have to fight for people's rights to home grow nationwide. Everyone should be decriminalized off the record, no question. And anyone that's in jail because of the plant should be left free. So those are my final thoughts, as Jerry Springer would say. And as Bob Barker would say, get your pets spayed and neutered.
Fuck yeah. All right.
All right. Have a good one.
Shirley. Yeah, getting high with cats. Thanks so much, man. I'll get this up as soon as I can. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No rush. I literally recorded things back in May and I still haven't posted it.
Cool. So. Well, I hope we can do it again sometime, man.
Please. Talk to you soon.
Good luck with everything. Take care.
Godspeed.
Beautiful.